Alright guys, so I'm going to go over the pop quiz here and you can fix your answers. One of the big ones that a lot of people missed is number 1, because you had to use an indirect object. So an indirect object doesn't occur in every sentence, but it likes to occur in sentences with the verb give and also told. And anyway, in order for an indirect object to occur, you're going to have a subject, which is the doer of an action, a verb, which is the action that they do. It's going to have a direct object, which is actually over here, which is what they did something to, and then right here we're going to have the indirect object. Now the big confusion is that it's possible to rewrite a sentence that goes subject verb IO-DO by getting rid of the IO and going subject verb DO prepositional phrase. And I'll show you that in a moment. Anyway, here's the sentence that uses an indirect object appropriately. Gawain gave the Green Knight his word. So here's our subject, Gawain, or Gawain, gave, it's a verb. And then we have the Green Knight, and we have his word. So the thing that Gawain actually gave was his word. So this is our direct object. And there's a third person or a third noun involved. We have 3 nouns in the sentence. We have Gawain, we have the word, and we have the Green Knight. The thing that Gawain gave is the direct object, but the person who benefits, the third person in this relationship, is our indirect object, and it's right here. One of the biggest problems that I found is that some students are writing these very long sentences, and they don't have to be. They can be very short, like this. And also, they'll use the indirect object in a prepositional phrase. And let me read you an example of that. That would be Gawain gave his word to the Green Knight. Well, if you say to the Green Knight, now you're using what's called an adverb phrase, a prepositional phrase that tells us how Gawain gave, which is different than using an indirect object here, something without a preposition in front of it. Number 2. Number 2 wanted you to write a compound complex, and this was the problem. A lot of people wrote complex sentences, but they didn't also write compound sentences. So a compound sentence is going to have 2 independent clauses, which means 2 parts that could stand alone as a sentence. And the only way to have 2 independent clauses is with a comma and a fanboys or a semicolon. And then it also had to be complex, which means there needs to be at least 1 subordinate. So at a minimum, there will be 3 subjects and 3 verbs, minimum. There will also be a comma or a semicolon in it. So here's the sentence that I wrote. The partner, here's subject number 1, who is, here's subject number 2. Who is one of the most evil characters? This is our subordinate clause. We're supposed to underline it. Sells. Sells is the verb that goes to the partner. Indulgences and keeps the money. And keeps is a verb here, but it's not, it still goes to the partner. We have a compound verb and 1 subject. And then here we have a semicolon, which is required. Or I could put a comma, fanboys, comma, and he has no shame, but I thought a semicolon would be better. Here's our 3rd subject and 4th verb. So anyway, what we have here is we have 2 independent clauses, 2 things that could stand alone. The partner sells indulgences and keeps the money. And then we have another one that could stand as a sentence, he has no shame. And then we have something with a subject and a verb that can't stand alone, who is one of the most evil characters. One trick is write a sentence where you have 2 sentences joined with a semicolon or a comma, fanboys, and then find a noun where you can put a clause right after it that begins with who if it's a person, or which if it is a thing, or that. Number 3. Describe the Green Knight's first appearance using a participial phrase. And a participial phrase is going to end usually in ing or d, and it's used as an adjective. So here's my sentence. The knights, chilled with fear, silently beheld the frightening night. I actually used two participles. Here's the first one. This is called a past participle because it ends in D. And chilled with fear, chill is a verb, but here we're using chilled with fear to describe the knights. And notice how there are commas on both sides. You put commas on both sides if the participle is non-essential, like this. Silently beheld the frightening night. Now, one-word participles that are in front of the nouns they describe don't need commas on both sides. But this is also a participle, but it's not a participle phrase because it's just one word. So this is our participle phrase. The purpose of chilled with fear is to describe the knights. So you take a verb, put it in the past tense, and use it to describe. It's called a past participle. All right, so 4. We have to write a simple sentence, which means it can't be complex or compound, about the partner's tale with at least one noun, adjective, adverb, conjunction, verb, and preposition, and we have to identify each part of speech. So here's what I have. The rugged rioters greedily cheat and kill each other with great malice. So here is our subject, or here's an adjective, rugged. And then here is our noun here. Greedily tells us how they cheat, so here's an adverb. Cheat is a verb, and is a conjunction. Kill is another verb. Each other. With is a preposition. And here's some extra credit. Great is an adjective. And not malice is a noun. So there it is. A lot of people missed this preposition here. You got to have a preposition like with or on or in. 5. Write a phrase with a gerund or gerund phrase. And that's pretty simple. So a gerund phrase is going to end in the first word will end in ing, and the whole phrase will be used as one part of speech. One noun in the sentence. And the noun functions are subject, direct object, indirect object, object of a preposition, predicate nominative. So these are the noun functions that a gerund will do. I guess it could also be in a positive. Here is what I did. Killing with one blow. So killing is our gerund, and then there's also this prepositional phrase that describes it, telling us how the killing is done or what kind of killing, actually. So this is called our gerund phrase. Killing with one blow. And this is the subject of the sentence. Look, it's all of the words before our verb, was. So this is the thing that was the knight's specialty. And then here is what's called a predicate nominative, but don't worry about that. So here's our gerund, killing with one blow. It's the subject of the sentence. One trick with gerunds, unlike participles, is that I cannot delete them. If I were to delete all of these underlined words, I would end up with a sentence that wouldn't be complete. Was the knight's specialty, and that's usually true. If you contrast that with participles up here, like I used a participle in front of night, frightening, we could actually delete this. See, we could just say silently beheld the night, and it's fine. So there shows the contrast between participles and gerunds. So here's the test again. Go ahead and correct your answers, and good luck.